Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Keeping It Digital, your weekly show where we cover the latest trends in consumer technology. I am your co-host at Adrian Grant, and with me I have
Vivek George,
our.
at Vivek M. George.
There we go. We got to make sure we get our social media handles just right to get that extra follower. So this week we're going to be covering a company. We're going to be going deep on a company that's near and dear to all of our hearts. For a lot of us, it's the first computer company we've ever owned, and that is good old Microsoft, Bill Gates' old gig. And a couple things kind of spearheaded this conversation that Vivek and I are having that we want to talk a little bit more about on Keeping It Digital, which was one was a Vanity Fair piece that came out in August. It's a really scathing piece that kind of like really tackled Ballmer and some of the policies that he's instituted over at Microsoft that some people say have kind of brought it to a downfall. And we'll put the links in the show notes. And the other thing is recently this week, Google surpassed Microsoft as far as its market capitalization. And for a lot of people use the market capitalization as a true sign of a company's value. And so this is the first time Microsoft, the inventor of the PC business, was ever, second place to another technology company, not clowning Apple. And so where we are is like people have been saying Microsoft has been on the downslope for decades. People have been saying the company's dead for a long time. Surely the stock price somewhat reflects that. Is Microsoft a doomed company?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, definitely not good signs. Obviously, financial performance is not the only indicator of a company doing well, in my opinion. But for certainly, I think one thing that made me interested in talking about this subject is I feel like Microsoft has lost its identity. The company just doesn't know what it stands for. Are they enterprise? Are they consumer? Are they some sort of in between hybrid type of thing? I think the company doesn't really stand for anything. They just try to be a me too type of company who can produce good products, but really just to end users and consumers
So
doesn't know what they stand for.
what was the identity of Microsoft? Well, like what did it what is it that they lost exactly?
I think they may have never been per se the most cutting edge company, but I think they did drive innovation in the PC software
And
industry.
by innovation, you mean stealing other people's ideas and making a lot of money off of it,
Yeah,
and then establishing a
I think
monopoly and keeping
I think a
everyone
lot
out.
of I think a lot of companies copied a lot of companies. Is in like I think everyone gives Apple all the credit for this GUI interface and the mouse and so forth. But I think everyone who knows that the truth is that they got those ideas from other people as well.
Right, right.
So I think Isaac Newton once said, right. If I've seen farther than others, it's because I was standing on the shoulder of
Of
giants.
giants, yes.
And I think that's the case about any business in any company. You learn from one another. So that's not so much my issue. I think Microsoft definitely was an innovator in some degree. They brought software, they brought cheap computers to the marketplace, to everyone's desktop. And they brought software there, so they were innovative to some degree. But now they don't do anything per se innovative. They don't even bring software or PCs to the
You
market.
know, there's a lot of PC fanboys who are going to hear this, are going to be up in arms doing backflips saying, what are you talking about? Have you seen Windows 8? Have you seen how everyone's copying that Metro style? Have you seen the success of the Xbox and how they're crushing it as far as the gaming consoles? So, before I actually do agree with you, though. I think those fanboys are crazy and they're drinking the wrong Kool-Aid. They should be drinking the Apple Kool-Aid. But I do agree with you in the fact that the company's definitely lost its mojo. But one quick behind-the-scenes production note: what we like to do with these keeping it digital weekly videos is having a nice little backdrop video whenever you and I speak. And I think we'd like to do this week is we'll show some montage historical video of Microsoft along with Microsoft does this really interesting thing they do yearly where they put out the future of Microsoft, like products that are like 5 or 10 years down the line. And so it's like really futuristic, back to the future stuff. So we'll also embed that also into this video, so you can kind of get like a full purview as far as what it was and what it's going to be. But back to the conversation, yes, I do agree with you that Microsoft has definitely lost a lot of its mojo. The stock price has been stagnant, and I do agree with you that it's not necessarily an indicator of a company's cachet, but I mean, you take a look at Google, and it's $700 now a share. Uh, Apple, I don't know how much hundreds of dollars it is because I stopped keeping track after the second hundred. I was like, I can't afford this anyway. Um, and so everyone's like kicking butt, and then there's Microsoft and Bomber with his bald head and long tongue sticking out, and it's just like nothing's working. One of the things here we like to talk about is their upcoming Surface devices, which are really betting big on. Um, which they're kind of touting it as well, they're touting it as a tablet, but a lot of the tech nerds out there are looking at it more so as an ultra PC or or like one of those high end laptops because it does come with a whole keyboard functionality. And one of the things is that, do you think that's actually going to save the company? This new Surface device that is probably 3 or 4 years late to market.
I think it's a great product. From what I've seen, the specs I've looked at, I think it's another great product. I think, to go back on this Microsoft, fanboys. To be honest, I'm part of that group. I've said
Oh,
many
that's
times,
right. I forgot. I
many
forgot.
times,
You are the
many
only
times. I'm,
person.
I'm definitely considering getting the Windows 8 phone,
I
and getting rid of my iPhone. I think they may not stand for anything, but they can still make great products. And I think the Surface is another example of making a great product. And quite frankly, you can't deny the reviews of the product have been very, very
Well,
solid from
the
technology
previews.
people.
One thing to note though about a lot of these, like, they're not even reviews yet because no one's had a review unit. But what I think is interesting that Microsoft does and Nokia does this too, but Apple does not, and a few other companies does not do this, where they'll demo a product, but they don't allow you to actually touch it. So, like, everyone that's had written up a review about it, the Surface has never actually held it, never actually touched on the icons and moved it around. Because you could, even though you could when they actually had the event, you could look at the device, but you weren't allowed to actually pick it up and play around with it. You weren't actually allowed to play around with different things. And people were saying the reason why they did this is really just to get ahead of the market, just to show that, hey, we're going to be in this space, but obviously the software isn't there. And again, it's one of those things where it's like whenever they take a step forward, it's almost as if they take two steps backwards, because whenever Apple has an announcement that something's coming, it's coming, and then you could play around with it, you could touch it.
So I think you hit upon a subject that I think is to the bigger problem of where Microsoft is. So they make great products, they can build software still and so
Well, hold
forth.
on, I don't know if they make great
But,
products.
okay, but let's just say that you listen to the reviews out there and so forth. Even not even talking about the Surface, but even talk about the Windows Phone, where people have had it in their hands and they do love it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, but they're really what their problem is, right? Because let's say you use Windows 7 phone as an example, right? A lot of people, not a lot, but a fair amount of people have the phone. Plenty of people have reviewed the phone, and they've given it outstanding reviews.
Yeah.
So a great product, right, should sell well. No, not exactly. And the reason why I believe is they're definitely late to the party. Google and Apple are there, and they've really established themselves. B, they don't have any go-to-market strategy. They don't know how to create a product and getting it to the floor and to getting to consumers. And that goes to your point about when Apple drops a product, a week later, 2 weeks later, it starts selling, right? They start selling it. Microsoft doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And then I think the last, it goes back to our point about, or what we talked about, is they don't stand for anything. They had no personality. When you watch an Apple ad, whether it be that first ad that Steve Jobs put together, he came back to the company,
That's just unfair. That's like one of the greatest advertisements ever. That's unfair.
Yeah.
No one can compete with that. That's unfair.
Yeah, that when you look at that ad and you look at a lot of their newer ads, the same feelings, a lot of the same feelings are still there.
It's aesthetic. It's they have a
aesthetic.
brand.
You know what the company stands for.
Yeah.
Same thing with Google. Google's ads are like very clean, simple, little fun, and light,
Little nerdy. Little nerdy.
They're still the same brand. Understand what Microsoft ads. I don't understand. Some of them are jokes. Some of them.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that Microsoft. We've been mentioning that Microsoft is kind of late to the game, but in reality, they've been the first in a lot of these fields. Like they were the first ones in the tablet field, handheld devices and smartphones. They had that back in the '90s, and they were trying to get people to use styluses and all different types of stuff. Bill Gates was a big proponent of it. It even inspired I think Larry Ellison, like he saw what Microsoft was doing when they launched Windows 95, and he wanted to launch a competing PC, and that obviously failed. But I mean, they were in the marketplace. You know what I mean? So it's funny that we keep saying they're laggards, but in reality, they were innovators, and I think they're
Yeah,
like a really good example of the whole innovators dilemma in the sense that they were the first to market. They're trying to sell these products at a premium, just like what Apple's doing now, and they just maybe they were too early, or maybe it's because even back then they just didn't have that voice.
yeah.
But to move it along, as far as we talked about the Surface is built upon the operating system, Windows 8. Also, they're going to be putting that in their desktops and also in their mobile phones, and they're really touting this as the next big thing for them. It's going to be better than Vista. It's going to be better than all their previous operating systems.
Uh,
I kind of skeptical about that. What I do like is what they always do. They always take a few Mac OS X features and bundle that in. Good job, Microsoft. I do see what you guys are doing. It's very cool. Um, but what I think find the most interesting about Windows 8 as a non-Microsoft fanboy is the fact that it's inspired so many other designs. Like if you look at the new MySpace or if you look at the new Facebook help section, they both had that Metro kind of uh, tabbed panel type of feel to it. It's nice, big, and glossy. So kudos to Microsoft for inspiring two other companies to
oh, yeah,
reach this
there's
design.
lots of inspiration. I've seen that Metro design. Started off with the Zune product line, and now it's gone across to lots of Microsoft products, obviously, and also now to other companies. Yeah, I think once again, I think they're definitely trying. I think that group at Microsoft's trying to be innovative. They're trying to create great products, but they need to figure out. They need to get a new marketing team there, a new PR team, and new like ops group. Like how to get a product that's awesome to the marketplace into consumers' hands to get them fired up and excited about
So
it.
are
And
you
you have to
positive?
figure that out.
Are you saying that they do have good products? They just have a bad marketing team, or they
Yeah,
don't have?
I think that's part of it. I think there's a it's I think to be not to be the business guy on this whole thing, but I think they definitely from a technical perspective. And once again, I go to reviews.
Mhm.
They've made reviews keep on saying the products are really solid, but they don't know like how to get it into a user's hand and get people excited. When a Windows Phone comes out there's not like
No
10
one's
people.
lining up around the block
Yeah,
for it.
not like 10
No.
people, even 10 people waiting for it. When a new iPhone comes out, they sell 2 million pre-orders.
Yeah.
2 million pre-orders. Um, it's just a different way to look at it.
But a
They're
lot.
different products, but even if you say Microsoft's not a better product, you say they're like almost at the same degree, right? You at least think they would get some sales.
Well, it's funny talking about like what Microsoft could do to improve. What they've been betting on, along with Windows 8, is the whole social thing with Bing, and you could tie your Facebook and your Twitter accounts to Bing, and they're really trying to double down on making search a social experience. And I think, as far as what I would do if I was Microsoft, I'd do the exact same thing what they're doing, which is doubling down on social because it is probably going to be the biggest paradigm within the next 5 to 10 years. Just like I don't know, 10 years ago it was online video, and of course the rise of the original social networks. Now it's going to be about social search, local, and mobile discovery. And I think what they're doing is a really interesting play on it, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. I'm certainly not going to switch over to Bing. I know you've already switched over to Bing because you're just a wild and crazy guy. I can't switch from Google unless it's something that's going to be remarkably better.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely doing some innovative things. Once again, I think they are setting things in place to some degree. Xbox has definitely been a place for success for them.
Love my
You know,
Xbox. As a matter of fact, if they change Bing to Xbox.com, I may actually switch over to Xbox.com and do my searches. That's how much I love my Xbox. Because I think, I think my use case is similar to a lot of people, where it's like I use my Xbox at least 3 to 5 times a week because I watch Netflix on it, I watch my movies on it, I play my video games on it. So it's like a lot of people like use their Xbox, and you could do a lot of things if you tie back into it. They should really look at what Apple's doing, how they kind of like Apple reverse engineered themselves into the app marketplace, into the video game marketplace, into desktop into cloud services, all through this thing. You know what I mean? It's a Trojan horse, and I think Xbox could do the. I think Microsoft could do the exact same thing with their Xbox product. Trojan horse people, get them sucked in. You have everyone buying these Connect devices, doing Minority Report type of moves. Build around it.
No, you're totally right, Adrian. I think they're not leveraging Xbox enough and the Connect. And once again, I think it's just the trouble of them being a big company that's you know separated and divided, and them not having a cohesive message and plan. I think you really hit it correct when you say, hey, Apple focused on this iPhone device, and from there they've sort of sprawled out to different products, but it all comes back to the same user experience, and trying to create a unified experience across their products, and Microsoft just hasn't gone that. I think Windows 8 there's some effort into that, because you can create apps that work across
Well, they're
products.
supposed to. They're
Supposed
supposed to. There's been a lot of uproar because Microsoft hasn't been as transparent as far as which is going to cross over, what's going to be compatible, what's not going to be compatible. But theoretically, yes, you write it once for Windows 8 and it should work just fine on tablets and mobile devices. But that's I'd put a big asterisk next to that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and we'll see. I think time will tell, but I still don't even think that'll be enough. Like, I think part of the problem is that it's they don't own the hardware side of things. So
There are rumors that they may be jumping into owning their own, coming out with their own handset device and
yeah, there's the rumors. I doubt it. Personally, I doubt it, but you'll time will tell. But I think it's going to be tough for them to create that seamless process because they don't own the hardware and software like Apple does. And I don't think the company works together as one as much as Apple does. And
yeah, there's a lot of
Google,
fragmentation, different campuses, and
yeah,
it's all over the place. I mean, like look, they even own Skype. You know what I mean? And that's a whole separate business unit.
yeah.
Xbox's own separate business unit. The desktop software, I'm sure, and mobile software don't speak to each other. That's what was said in the Vanity Fair article. But I think what we're saying is that for you feel like their biggest issue is on the marketing sides, and I personally, the biggest issue is actually on the product side. I don't feel like their products are that innovative. I feel that, like Google, what their biggest hurdle is going to be convincing developers to actually create for their platform. And Android did a really good job of that, to saying, hey, unlike Apple, this is the wild, wild west. You can create it, it's automatic, it gets published. You don't need to go through anyone. And that's how they've been able to kind of keep up with Apple. They're not even at the same level of Apple, but that's how they're able to keep up. And now for Windows, I know one of the biggest things keeping you back from switching over is the fact that there's not a lot of apps there. If you get a Windows phone and there's some cool new iPhone app that everyone's playing around with, it may not be available for Windows for like another 3 or 5 years down the line. Like, is Instagram even available for Windows?
I don't think so.
Dude, you,
I had to double check.
that's it right there, bro.
Yeah, that's probably one of the big reasons I'm debating even.
Dude,
Yeah,
you can't even take pictures and make them look vintage on a Windows phone. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro. That's just that's enough for me. But
yeah, you're totally correct, and I don't know. I'm not sure. What's left in the company. The company has lots of money, and I don't think they're deploying it correctly. But as the article said, the Vanity article said, I think a lot of this issue goes onto Steve Ballmer and in his management of the company and his direction of the company. I've heard rumors that Bill Gates is getting more involved with the company, and I wonder if Bill Gates is the right man for the job. Like, he definitely did some great things for the company, but he also he came from a different time
yeah,
where you could sell mass products of these software, and there's no really other competition out there, so you
yeah,
would win.
it was
Uh,
pre-internet,
yeah.
pre-cloud.
Now you have to be really innovative. You have to be very creative. There has to be a style and look to it. Everything has to be beautiful.
Hmm.
And I don't know if Bill Gates is the right man for the job either. But certainly something has to change on the management side of it, I believe. I disagree with you. I think the products are really, really solid. They just don't know how to get customers fired up about it. It's embarrassing when you do a presentation, and everything goes wrong in it. Phone doesn't work, the
Yeah.
speaker doesn't work, like, and that's so typical of
You
their
wouldn't think
presentation.
it's a multi-million dollar, billion-dollar company,
Yeah,
but yeah, it was in the press recently that Gates has been more involved. As a matter of fact, Bing actually made a strategic investment in Clout. So Clout, they provide a social influence score, so you can
yeah,
see this person's influential in sports, this person's influential in hockey or cooking or whatever like that. And Bing made an investment in this company, and it was reported that how the deal got done was actually Bill Gates reached out to the CEO of Clout to integrate into Bing. You got to keep in mind, Bill Gates no longer works at Microsoft. I mean, he's just basically a figurehead. He's just pops in and out. I mean, he's tackling bigger problems. He's tackling like world issues, like matters of life or death, which is why I feel that I agree that I don't think he's the right man for the job, because I think once you've built your first multi-million dollar company, you got it public, and now you're touring the world, and you're helping to save lives. I don't know. It's kind of difficult to go back to, oh, I got to increase the stock price by 10% when it's like, yo, dude, I just saved like 10,000 people last week. Like, I think there's more important things I could be doing with the last 20 years of my life. You know what I mean? So I think who Microsoft needs at this point, they need a young guy in there, probably someone who grew up with the internet, ideally, maybe someone 30, 40s year old. Um, I think they need like some fresh blood in there. I think Bomber has had his tenure. I do
yeah.
agree that I wouldn't say he ran it into the ground, but I mean he did what
No.
he can do. I mean I personally like him. I like crazy leaders. Like Vivek, I like anyone that's just a crazy guy and like leads something. I'm like, yeah, I like that guy. I want to be just as nutty and cuckoo as that guy. And Bomber is definitely that dude because he doesn't care what anyone thinks.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think they do need some fresh blood. I think
yeah.
that could help out Microsoft. So yeah, any last thoughts
Uh,
about
I, I
Microsoft?
I think I think we definitely covered the main stuff there. I think I'm hopeful for Microsoft's future because I think they're a big player there, and in the race between you know Apple, Google, especially in the smartphone space, is really just a two-man race. And I think another company needs to be involved to keep things innovative in that space. In terms of search, it's essentially just Google. So Microsoft is in a unique position in a couple different industries where they can be innovative. They can improve the industry. Their efforts with Bing have improved Google subsequently as well. So I think it's important that they're there, but they have to figure out a better way to get users and get people engaged in their product and excited about using their products. And right now, I think they're a bit lost in doing that.
Well, if anyone from Microsoft is watching, all I can say is I am bearish on your products. Like every other consumer, I am fickle. The second the next generation of gaming consoles comes out and it looks like Microsoft is not the winner, I will jump ship gladly. I am not switching over from Apple or Google because those companies deliver time and time again. Um, but if Microsoft could deliver something cool and innovative, I'll buy it. Just like I bought my Xbox. Just like I actually use SkyDrive, which is their Dropbox competitor, because in my opinion, it is better. They give you way more free storage and somewhat better functionality. So yeah, if you make it, I'll be there. If you don't, sorry, later. All right, so thanks guys for watching all the way through for this episode of Keeping Digital. You can get in contact with us again. My Twitter handle's at Adrian Grant.
And I'm the big M George.
And please check out our startup. We just launched our alpha version. If you like social, if you like awesomeness, and if you like cool things, check out Bueller.com. It's a real-time review site powered by social media. That's BUELLR.com. Bueller as in, Bueller, Bueller, that Bueller, yeah. So thanks again, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Later.